So we try our level best to get the idea of notion of a vector. When we talked about only on one line, that time we said that the vector corresponds to one real number and a direction. That is, now again, let us be very clear that can we listen very carefully. Can we think of something which does not talk about negative sign? Means many who are aware of routine mathematics have the concept of subtraction, and also at your childhood, subtracting how subtraction was taught initially. Take a bigger number and subtract smaller number from it. And if means, even if we talk about the manner in which the things progressed, the negative sign, means sign for a number, was not a concept. Nowadays it is then high school mathematics, but earlier it was only for very higher level mathematics. So that concept of negative sign is something which I say that can we think of a mathematical world in which negative number concept is not there. Are you getting me? Negative number concept is not there. So how will you provide the concept of vector on one, if only one line, x-axis let us say, is my world, how will you talk about vector on that x-axis? You will say magnitude, distribute origin at that point, and you will say on which side, left or right. Left or right. Or if you try, have you thought of polar coordinates on single dimension? Single dimension polar coordinates. Magnitude r and theta is either 0 or pi. Either 0 or pi, right? So on in one dimensional world, vector is defined as magnitude, which can be any positive. I again repeat, when I say positive, means positive real number is something which is understood appropriately by a human being who is having vision. Blind person may not understand that so quickly. For a human being with vision, I can perceive length, right? So that is magnitude, and direction means vector on one dimension is magnitude which can have infinite combinations. Magnitude which can have infinite combinations, uncountably infinite, this much, this much, this much, this much, anything. And direction which is having only two combinations, 0 or pi. 0 or pi. When we move to 2D, what happens? Magnitude remains, and how things change? The direction means it was angle, means we will not use word positive. The right hand side is the reference axis. This is the reference axis. So in 1D world, this origin is A, or it can be on this side. In that case, this is X, we use R for magnitude, R and theta, but theta was either 0 or pi. So infinite combinations for R, which can be any real number or any positive real number, I believe it later, and theta is having only two combinations, 0 or pi, angle. When I move to two dimensions, what happens? When I move to 2 axis, what happens? Same thing, magnitude and angle, but angle which was having only two countably finite 0 or pi, that now becomes countably infinite. Anything between 0 to 2 pi. Remember 0, when I said 0 to 2 pi, the question of negative angle means I am, let us say that means these in today's world, constrained optimization is a very advancing field, that now beyond vegetarian people are becoming vegan. They don't use even milk, anything which is directly coming from animals. So that constrained world, like that, I am allergic about negative sign. So everything I define which does not use negative sign for number, subtraction operation is there, but negative sign for number is not to be used. So in that case, you are thinking something? You are thinking on some angle conversion? Look here. I thought that you are thinking on the same line somewhere, but anyway. So angle, now this is my reference axis. Right hand side is reference axis. And there are two ways, this angle positive and this angle negative, but negative I am not using. So anti-clockwise from reference axis, it reaches, starts from 0 and ends up with 2 pi, and it is modulo. Now length is infinite, but angle can't be infinite, because it is modulo. Once it becomes 2 pi, means any angle theta modulo 2 pi means if L1 and L2 are equal, then they need to be equal throughout and completely. But two angles theta 1 and theta 2 are same if theta 1 equal to theta 2 or theta 1 modulo 2 pi is equal to theta 2 modulo 2 pi, right? It is angle 3 pi and angle pi are same, right? So r theta with theta to be anything is concept of direction, means direction was either this or this. Now direction can be anything. R is fixed. Now when I advance a step further to 3 dimensions, what happens? Now earlier A was restricted to be here or here, anywhere on this axis. Now it can be anywhere in this plane. Now it can be anywhere here. So if A is here, how I will measure? One is that I will find out this length first, right? Then from this I will project it here. So this will be angle theta, and from this angle phi, means r theta and phi is angle from phi is, now there are different ways. R is angle of projection from, sorry, this theta is angle of projection from reference axis, and this is angle between projection. This projection is not of length r. This is projection of different length, and actual, what we can say, that vector quantity. So that is phi, r theta and phi. Now again can you raise a question which will make me difficult to answer? What I said, that reference axis x, a perpendicular axis y leading to xy plane, and a perpendicular axis z in right related to manner. So x, y, and z is coming out, z. Now from the point I put projection in xy plane, means from that point I draw a line parallel to z axis which will touch xy plane somewhere. Then I count this angle. It is theta. Theta. And I count if this line and this line, what is the angle between these two? It is r, theta and phi. Now, have you heard about in 3D, in 2D, Cartesian and polar, and in 3D, there is one more. What is that? Cartesian. In case of polar, there are two ways in which we can be. What are those? Cartesian coordinates, then spherical and cylindrical. Okay. Now, tell me which coordinates these are, that I am not specifying much. Only thing is that what I wanted to indicate is that what we mean by direction, magnitude, and to specify it, a same magnitude quantity can have two options in one-dimensional world, 0 and pi. Can have infinitely many options, can have infinitely many options in 2D world. But now this is again 1D has got two options, angle 0, angle pi. 2D have got infinitely many options. So 1D finite options are naturally subset of 2D infinite options. Now listen very carefully. Again, try to give examples. Suppose that in your school there were mediocre students who used to read only one page, and you have read entire book. It's not finite, infinite, but so you say that I have done it entirely. But then somebody, you go to a district place where there are students from schools which are much superior, and they ask you something, and then you find, oh, I don't know it. Before coming there, what is your perception in your school? I have read everything. I have read everything. When you come at district place, you find that this thing is not read by you. So, what you claim to be everything is not, there is something beyond. So here there are infinite possibilities, but infinite possibilities in 2D world does not mean that all other possibilities are also covered. Means it is one subset of 3D space. A plane is a subset of volume. Line is a subset of plane. So here you take projection, actual length, then angle of projection with reference axis, and angle between projection and actual vector is other angle. Now, what will you say? I can now measure angle of projection, which projection subtends with x-axis. Now, can you ask a mischievous question whether my logic will fail? measure? Projection, angle of projection with reference axis, and third angle is angle between projection and actual vector. Now, where we fail? Projection, that let it be, so that is not a major issue for me. But projection चा angle reference axis ने काढताच येणार नाही असं कधी होईल का? प्रोजेक्शनचा अँगल, प्रोजेक्शनचा रेफरन्स ॲक्सिस पासून म्हणजे एक्स ॲक्सिस, पॉझिटिव्ह एक्स ॲक्सिस पासून अँगल काढता येणार नाही, कन्फ्युजन होईल. असं होईल कधी? If point is on z axis, what will happen? If point is on z axis, right away, its projection would be the projection of a point or projection of a vector joining origin and 0, 0, z will in xy plane will be on origin itself. So what angle the projection subtends with positive x-axis? Why pi by 2? It is indeterminate. Angle is not defined. You can claim angle to be anything. Right?
We will take reference as xz plane.
Right. So there you can, means this is something which creates a problem in the established convention, but by other technique I can go through it. Is it okay? So concept of magnitude means vector. Vector we have learnt at high school days where our imaginative capabilities were somewhat limited. And that has, what we can say, prejudiced our thinking abilities. When we try to expand it now, it gives us some headache. Now, 2D, two real numbers, magnitude and one angle. 3D, three real numbers, magnitude and two angles. In Cartesian coordinates, let us say that even if we assume negative number logic, in 1D only one value, x coordinates say, plus, which can be either anything, any real number including positive negative. 2D, x and y coordinates both can be positive negative anything. 3D, three coordinates, positive negative anything. Now, line, listen very carefully. Line is a subset of plane. Plane is a subset of volume. Volume is a subset of what? You got a question? So, actually what we say vector, there is alternative logic. Vector is an ordered combination, and if the combination includes only one number, then it's a scalar. Vector is ordered combination of numbers. The number can be positive and negative, we can assume that. Now I hope that we have enough discussed enough. So only one number scalar, A, then A comma B is a vector. It's ordered combination. B comma is different than A comma B. A comma B comma C is a three-dimensional vector. So what is vector now? The concept of magnitude and direction. Now if you see a person who is blind from birth, what kind of visualization he may have? If we are having visualization of line, plane, volume, projection like that, will we see it? Can a blind visualize? It's very difficult for you to enter into that world because it is something which can't, something what you are seeing can't be unlearned. But still you can think of. Like that means visualization of Euclidean space for a blind person. Like that, we should also see what is significance of fourth dimension. How a single number, ordered pair, ordered triplet, till that you can see in Euclidean geometry. Ordered combination of 4 numbers. Logic remains same. 5 numbers. So you can think of a vector space which is having infinite dimensions as well. Is it right? A vector space up to dimensions 3 can be visualized. A vector space up to dimensions 3 can be visualized, whereas vector space beyond 3 is required to be imagined by very higher level abilities of my thinking brain. So I hope that the idea is very much clear. So this is vector space, means if we restrict ourselves to 3D, it's quite simple. Then we will in 3D I will test your some fundamental things, so that by today the preliminary discussion, the concept of creating ideas will be over. Then from tomorrow we can start with the first module, that's very simple, equations, linear equations, and that is, there are few things which are simple. I will just rush through and we shall put more time on the fundamentals. Now let us now restrict in Cartesian plane, Cartesian coordinate system. What are equations of a, now in a Cartesian coordinate system, x plus y is equal to or I will be more simple. Or I will make it more complex. Okay, I will make it, let us say, first simple then complex. X equal to y. What do we, let us, we are in now Cartesian coordinate system. X equal to y. What do you understand from it? X equal to y. What is it? What it is? It is a straight line having slope equal to plus 1, right? So then you will say, oh, why you are asking such simple questions as if you are in the high school? Is it that you want to kill time? But very soon you will find that this question will ask not just as it is, it got some meaning. Now everybody of you says that x equal to y represents this line, right? Line between falling between first and third quadrant, making a slope of 45 degrees with both x and y axis. Now what x plus y equal to 0 will mean? What x plus y equal to 0 will mean? Exactly reverse. Now, can both of these things be true simultaneously? What? In which case?
0, 0. Intersection point.
Both equations, at one point it is right. Only at 0, 0? So, simultaneous equation solution. Now I say that what you are saying, that x plus y, x equal to y is an equation of line, is, I will say that x equal to y doesn't represent a line. Something is incomplete. X equal to y, what are you doing? Hello, look here. You are doing something next. X equal to y doesn't, I say now I hope that we are somewhat moving at a reasonable rate. X equal to y doesn't represent a line. I make a statement. Do you agree with it? And if you agree, then what we have answered earlier is either wrong or incomplete. Either you correct it or complete it.
This point.
X equal to y. X equal to y, or you have learned, sometimes we are so much slaves of convention. This will understand immediately. Y equal to mx plus c. What it is? Means whether x equal to y is equation of a line or not, there may be some confusion. But y equal to mx plus c, you will certainly find that it is equation of a line. What would be equation of y-axis in that case? In this, with this logic, I am deliberately asking what we can say teasing questions, so that it gives you some instant thinking. What will happen?
Y minus c upon
What is the equation of y-axis?
x equals 0.
X equal to 0. So in the equation of y-axis, y doesn't come. But still I say that deliberately, means these questions I am asking just to indicate that whatever presumptions you have carried, as you advance to a higher level, there is the need of reworking it and finding out the exceptionalities where this presents do wrong and what are the special cases to be considered during that exception. But still I say that y equal to mx plus c is also not an equation of line. We are wrong. Or it's not that we are wrong, but we have assumed something which you have forgotten. We have assumed something which you have forgotten. Suppose if somebody asks you, where are you? In which, at which place you are? You will say, I am in room number 12. I am in room number 12. Whether room number 12 completely describes your location,
No,
then what do you need to tell?
that is complex.
academic complex, or basically room number 12 in Walchand College. Why you don't answer that? Because it is assumed that you are in Walchand College. Right now, y code mx plus c, okay. In a 3D space, line is having how many equations? In a 3D space, line is having how many equations? Line is having how many equations? I think now I have given you a hint. It was assumed that everybody should instantly answer now. Y equal to mx plus c is not an equation of line. It is equation of something else. In a 3D space, line is having how many equations?
Infinite equations.
No, any given line. I am in 3D space. 3 equations. Now, try to understand. This violet line I have drawn is satisfying x equal to y. When that line satisfies x equal to y, can I guaranteedly say that it is equation of that line? When I say that x equal to y is the equation of the violet line, number one is that when the point is on that line, equation will be satisfied. But there is something additional constraint. When I say, linear algebra is it gives a logical thinking should be very sound, set theory and all those things. Violet line आणि x equal to y equation किंवा आता मी म्हणतो इक्वेशन मी म्हणतो एक्सप्रेशन व्हायोलेट लाईन आणि x equal to y एक्सप्रेशन. मग मी जर का असं म्हणत असेल की x equal to y एक्सप्रेशन हे व्हायोलेट लाईनचं इक्वेशन आहे, म्हणजे काय काय व्हायला पाहिजे? त्या लाईनवर इक्वेशन सॅटिस्फाय व्हायला पाहिजे आणि इतर कुठेही ते इक्वेशन सॅटिस्फाय व्हायला नाही पाहिजे. तेव्हा म्हणजे x equal to y न फक्त व्हायोलेट लाईनच रिप्रेझेंट होते का अजून काही ऍडिशनल रिप्रेझेंट होतं? x equal to y न फक्त व्हायोलेट लाईन रिप्रेझेंट होते का अजून काहीतरी ऍडिशनल रिप्रेझेंट होतं? असं मी घेतलं प्लेन, हे जे प्लेन आहे प्लेन काय होईल? त्या प्लेनवरच्या प्रत्येक पॉइंटवर सॅटिस्फाय. त्यामुळे x equal to y हे लाईनचं इक्वेशन नाही. लाईनवर ते इक्वेशन सॅटिस्फाय होतं, परंतु इतर बरेच असे रिजन्स आहेत की जिथं ते इक्वेशन सॅटिस्फाय होतं. म्हणजे मग x equal to y कशाचं इक्वेशन आहे? x equal to y हे xz प्लेनला x y आणि हा z हे XZ प्लेनला 45 डिग्री अँगल करणाऱ्या प्लेनचं इक्वेशन आहे. इज द आयडिया क्लिअर? सो x इक्वल टू y इज इक्वेशन ऑफ ए प्लेन हॅव्हिंग 45 डिग्रीज अँगल विथ XZ प्लेन. मग ते लाईनचं इक्वेशन कधी होईल? व्हॉट इज लाईन? लाईन इज intersection of two non-parallel planes. So that violet line, can you say, is intersection of which two planes? Which two planes?
X and Y.
This plane as what we discussed,
X, Y.
and
X, Y.
XY plane. Is it right? The plane having 45 degrees angle with XZ plane and XY plane, the intersection is the line. Means x equal to y is equation of that oblique plane. What is equation of XY plane? अरे इतकं सांगतोय आता, यायलाच पाहिजे, इन्स्टंट यायला पाहिजे. याच्यासारखं सोपं प्रश्न म्हणजे हे उत्तर तुम्हाला येत नसेल तर आपलं काही चुकत्याच वाटलं पाहिजे. XY plane is equal. What is equal to XY plane?
Z equals 0.
Z equal to 0, right? So x equal to y and z equal to 0 represent violet line. Now x equal to y and x plus y equal to 0. What these two will represent? What these two will represent? If you are smart enough, you will answer it. X plus y equal to 0 and x equal to y. What will happen? X plus y equal to 0 and x equal to y. What do you indicate?
Intersection of two planes.
Which, so it will be a line. Well, you tried. I am daily, see, you are in engineering college third year. सगळं अगदी सोपं याला अर्थ नाही, तुम्हाला तर विचार प्रवर्तक वाटला पाहिजे. So x plus y equal to 0 and x equal to y are two equations. Which line they represent? The interest is got on. Can we try somewhere further? X plus y equal to 0 and x equal to y. When it is possible? No. These two equations can you solve together? Can you simplify? You substitute x equal to y. So y plus y is 0. What does it mean? Y equal to 0. You substitute y equal to x. X plus x equal to 0 means x means what are these two? Provide me alternative equation set. What are those equation set?
0, 0.
X equal to 0.
Y equals
So x equal to 0 is what? X equal to 0 is which plane?
Y, Z.
X equal to y z plane. And y equal to 0? XZ plane. So XZ plane and YZ plane intersect in
Z line.
Z axis. So these two or these two are equations of Z axis. Now any line you take, one line can be thought to be intersection of multiple pairs, which I think one line, this can be intersection of this and this, or this and this. लक्षात आएगा? One line can be intersection of multiple pairs. So any of those multiple pairs means multiple pairs of planes. So equations of planes in any of that pair will become equation of line. So in a 3D space, one equation will represent what? Now let us see whether you can understand this. What this is, what do you understand from this? X plus y plus z equal to 0. What is this? काय करते म्हणून? What x plus y plus z is plus 0 is? Why x plus y plus z equal to 0 is? Which plane? Can you visualize that plane? अच्छा लगा? We should be able to, otherwise we witness something which we don't understand at all. X plus y plus z equal to 0 is which plane? Remember. Try to listen. Cartesian coordinate system. Each point is having x coordinate, y coordinate, z coordinate. If no equation is specified, you go, suppose that there are mischievous students in the class and teacher get out. Teachers ask him get out. So teacher tells him get out. Whether the location is described by anything, whether get out has specified any equation? No. So where student can go? He can roam around anywhere. So can you answer this? If no, in a 3D space, if no equation is specified, what structure it defines? No equation specified. I will say exactly reverse. In a 3D space, in a 3-dimensional Cartesian स्पेसचाही अर्थ कळत नाही, अगदी अजून सोप्यात सोपं करायचा प्रयत्न करतो मी, मला जेवढं येईल तेवढं. In a 3D Cartesian coordinate system, when no equation is specified which entity it represents, एक काहीच इक्वेशन नाही आहे. वर्गात मी तुम्हाला गेट आउट म्हणालो, तुम्ही कुठे जाणार?
Out of the class.
कुठं एक्झॅक्ट? कुठं? एखादा आणि कुठं दुसरं, म्हणजे व्हॉट इट मॅप्स इन ए 3D Cartesian coordinate system, no equation is specified. It maps to which entity? Which entity is defined by this? काहीच सांगितलं नाही आहे, म्हणजे anywhere or everywhere. So no equation will represent entire volume, point, line, plane, entire volume it will represent. So dimensions 3, dimension equal to equation plus degrees of freedom. What do you mean degrees of freedom? How many coordinates you can choose? How many coordinates you can choose? That is, you are free to choose them. So nothing is specified. You can choose all coordinates. Anything x. When I say get out, you can go either here, you can go here, their way. Today, in a classroom, what kind of pattern it takes in 20 years afterwards, we don't know. Then one may have drawn. So, आता आपण काय म्हणतो, इकडे जाईल का तो, इथून बाहेर गेला, इथून बाहेर गेल्यानंतर तो असा जाणार किंवा असा जाणार किंवा ह्या दिशेने किती गेला, ह्या दिशेने किती गेलाय, त्याची आपण लोकेशन एक्स वाय सांगू शकतो. आता आपला ड्रोन असा अपेक्षित नाही की तो वर गेलेला, किंवा समजा बिल्डिंग, ड्रोनची गरज नाही एवढ्या विचार करायची, बिल्डिंग असेल मल्टी तो लिफ्ट वर जाऊ शकतो. म्हणजे क्लासरूम मधून हाकल्यानंतर त्याला तो समोर उजवीकडे किंवा डावीकडे किंवा वर, सो ही कॅन, नथिंग इज स्पेसिफाईड, सो वी कॅन से दॅट ही कॅन ऑक्युपाय a position which can have any x, any y and any z. All are free. There is a complete degree of freedom. Now he says that I tell them, go anywhere in this floor, on this floor. So what is restricted? Z is restricted. Right. Then I tell him, go anywhere such that your x plus y plus z should be some fixed thing. X plus y plus z should be fixed thing. So that will when nothing was prescribed, 3 degrees of freedom, he could have been anywhere. Now when something is prescribed, there are 2 degrees of freedom. So entire volume, equations 0, freedom, degrees of freedom 3. After volume, what comes? Plane. After plane, what comes? Line. After line, what comes?
Solid shapes.
Come below.
Point.
There is firing room at some location. Get out to that firing room so that somebody will scold you. So firing room is having given x, given y, given z. So 3 equations, no degree of freedom. Planes have how many equations? Plane, 1 equation, 2 degrees of freedom. And then 9 is having 2 equations. So in a 3D Cartesian coordinate system, 3 equations represent a point, 2 equations represent a line, 1 equation represents a plane, and no equation represents entire space. Then when I say 3 equations, there are some consistency issues which we will elaborate tomorrow.